Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
And we're here.
Yeah.
It's another week, another great week.
Yeah, and it's getting hotter. It's getting even hotter. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
We were doing our pre-ramble before recording, and it wasn't until I started recording seeing like, oh, it's 97 again. And all the news is like, hey, it's going to get back up to fucking triple digits in like a couple days. So, fucking sick. Let's be in a hot-ass room recording a podcast.
Well, that's what they suggest. They say if the temperature's going up, turn on all the electronics, especially computers, and then talk a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm also that genius that like more than half his wardrobe is all black. Because I never got out of being a fucking goth, I guess. So yeah, I'm just melting every fucking summer now.
I would go as far to say as at least 95% of my wardrobe. It's not necessarily black, but black and like charcoal, dark grays and dark navy, just dark colors. I
don't have a problem with like grays, but like it's not even intentional. It's like just every fucking shirt and like everything I wear, like they only come in black. Like every t-shirt is always on black, and it's like, it's actually the last few years it's kind of annoyed me because it's like I would like some color in my wardrobe, but all these fucking people know how to do is put it on a black shirt.
I tried recently. I came across a really awesome Foo Fighters t-shirt on Amazon, and it was like a dark chocolate brown. I'm like, well, it's dark, but it's not black. It's brown. I don't own any brown because who owns brown clothes?
In Cleveland.
So I bought it.
You know?
Well, yeah, and that's what's funny. I'm a Browns fan, and I don't own a single Browns.
I don't flaunt that shit.
No,
I don't want people to know that.
Yeah, right. No self-respecting Browns fan. We're starting to crawl out from the woodwork now with Baker and everything, but
there's a lot of decades there where we all thought we made the Browns up in our head.
But, so I found this like real cool Foo Fighters shirt that was brown. It's like, that'll increase my, it showed up, it's black. It just looked brown in the picture. Now it's an awesome shirt. I wear it all the fucking time, but it's like, more black, but
yeah.
But the other thing, I don't actually, I'm apparently turned into one of these like boring suburban grown like dads. I don't wear a lot of t-shirts often. I usually have like a button up shirt either with rolled sleeves or short sleeve, but a collared shirt.
Just show the world you're ready to get to work at any moment.
Right. But those are even worse because they either come in like black or like neon Hawaiian anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of in between.
Neon Hawaiian. That's a great color.
It's also a pretty cool like rock band.
Yeah.
We're the Neon Hawaiians.
Yeah, I think for like the problem with people who just keep making black shirts is like these people clearly don't own pets because it's like
right.
There's fucking hair everywhere, dude. Like, give me something that can kind of hide it, please.
Well, that's what's funny. Like, me and Tara kind of just do our own laundry. Normally, like you picture a household and it's like one person does all the laundry, but
bullshit.
I do my stuff and she does hers and Lincoln's now. But I separate all my stuff. Like I'm anal about it, but it's because with darks, if I throw any like whites in with it at all, you get all that like fuzzy white lint all over the.
Oh, I don't do that shit. Yeah. I don't separate anything. Fucking all goes in cold water. I'll pull some stuff out that can't be dried, but like I have lint rollers,
Yeah, but I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I actually have
you can't say you're lazy though if you're separating your shit.
But that's
I'm
easy.
lazy, all right?
But like I said, 95% of my stuff is dark. So when I say separate, it means like pull out
two pairs of socks.
Right. So yeah, this is what people tune in every week for, is us to talk about laundry.
Fuck it. I'm drinking again. Let's talk laundry all fucking episode.
I am too. So this might be, especially with as much as we talked before we hit record, I got almost all the way through my beer.
Nice.
So
I'll catch up.
Like, pre-gaming.
I'm like halfway through my beer.
It's a fun week this week. But
we're celebrating absolutely nothing except we don't have many ideas for the show right now.
Right. That's what that's what I was about to say. We're pumping up the energy because the content is way down. So hopefully it'll balance out and you'll all meet us somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So
enjoy this trip to alcoholism class.
And I'll be half distracted because I've got Mexican food and margaritas waiting for me upstairs. So
that's right, folks. More drinking.
Well,
in the post-game show.
My approach is you either don't drink at all or you just go all out. There's no reason to go in between.
Which is what I've been doing for like the last year.
And it's what health professionals, like, they probably don't agree with me. But anyway,
yeah, we didn't do it. People don't even know what the fuck they're listening to, maybe. This is the Non-Essential Podcast. Every week we tell each other stories. Sometimes they're history, sometimes they're fiction, sometimes they're science, but really that's above our pay grade. And I don't know what today is. That's why I'm drinking.
It's a hybrid. I did fall kind of back onto the creepypasta. I have another topic that the other topic is actually the one that like kind of inspired me when we quit doing In Joystick, the video game podcast. And I was like, hey, let's kind of do like a random, just like story, like stuff show, podcast. Yeah. This is the topic I wanted to do, but at the time we hadn't really settled into our format. And like, you should have seen my notes. Like, I even bought a book to like read about this thing because it's interesting. Bound. Yeah, it's a tome. It's a thing for. Eventually, I'll do this topic because it was just really interesting to me. I'm not doing that this week. I almost my thought was I didn't have a topic, and I was like, I'm just gonna fucking wing it without notes and just go by what I know in the Wikipedia page. And then I got halfway through this beer and thought that's a bad idea. So my other option is, it's like I said, a hybrid. It's a creepypasta technically. It is from the creepypasta website, the creepypasta wiki. But it's based on a true story, and it's actually a true story that I've looked into a couple times before about possibly covering on the show. So it melds this like creepypasta and history. Now I skimmed through this. I didn't like read it all the way top to bottom. It seems like it's mostly just an account of this event that actually happened, but then like the author adds some narration into it, like their thoughts. So anyway, but I thought it was interesting because I thought, like I said, I almost covered this story a couple times anyway. So to do it this way, it'll be something slightly different.
That's the thing. If we're gonna half-ass it, we'll half-ass it with a twist.
Mm-hmm. And that twist is usually the lime that's in our beer.
That sounds gross. Half-assed with a twist.
Half-assed with a twist. I'll be right back. I got a script I got to write real quick.
Sounds like some James Bond would fuck up and accidentally order.
No, that's what I would order if I was at the bar with James Bond. He'd be all suave and be like, I like shaken, not stirred.
Just intimidated.
Yes. Steve, how do you like your martini? I like mine half-assed with a twist.
Half-assed with a twist, with a pucker on top. Yeah.
So anyway, this story was written by Dr. Frank N Furter, which I love that name. It's a joke that's been used a million times, but we'll take it. And the story and topic is called The Deaths of Lela and Raymond Howard.
No, not Lela and Raymond.
I know, they were good people.
I don't think I've ever met anybody named Lela. I thought that was a Futurama name.
It's good that I haven't, because every time I meet that person, I would start singing Eric Clapton's Lela, except with Lela in it, and she'd be so pissed. Yeah.
And Eric Clapton, being the scumfuck he is, would be like, trying to sue you.
So, the deaths of Lela and Raymond Howard. Every now and then, my thoughts drift towards the deaths of Lela and Raymond Howard. When that happens, a multitude of questions usually start to plague my mind. What could have prevented their demise? Did they suffer?
Who are
How many
they?
chances were they? Did they actually die? Where am I? Why am I typing?
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me. Okay.
Don't hurt me no more. Yeah. Did they suffer? How many chances to save them were wasted? How many warning signs were ignored? But what really pains me to not know is, how did it all end? Note, the following story is a true story. On Sunday, June 29th, 1997, elderly couple Lela and Raymond Howard from Salado, Texas, decided that they were going to a day festival in Temple, a nearby town. It was to be a 15-mile trip, and Lela was driving. The couple departed that morning, despite earlier objections by Lela's son, who had begged to drive his mother and father himself instead. Lela declined, saying, "No, we know where to go. We go every year." Lela's son's concerns stemmed from the fact that his 83-year-old mother was showing signs of Alzheimer's disease and was often easily confused at things.
And she insisted on calling her truck Gravedigger.
Well, the weird part is her name was actually Ruby, but she started just answering to Lela, so that was the first sign something was wrong. At one time, Lela even meant to show up at a local Walmart for morning coffee at 10:30 a.m., but instead arrived at 10:30 p.m., perplexed as to why the sun was not up yet.
That's the weird thing. Why would you go to Walmart for morning coffee?
Old people do weird stuff. We had clients at my actual job, and I think I'm safe to say this because I think they've both passed away now. But anyway, I was talking to them one day, and they talked about every single day, for lunch, they would go to our local Wendy's and eat at Wendy's. Mm-hmm. And so that's one thing. I mean, it's like habits.
I'm not questioning the idea of routine, especially if you're, elderly and retired. You gotta do some shit, keep you going. But fucking coffee from Walmart? What?
Yeah, I
you're
didn't
just
even
buying
know,
a bag of coffee, or what are you doing?
Yeah, and you chew on the grounds a little bit, and it gets you pretty good buzz. Yeah, that's a good question, because my Walmart doesn't have a cafe, so maybe she was just waltzing into the employee lounge and using their coffee maker. Or whatever.
Yeah, kick in the door. I need your generic Folgers ass coffee.
Nobody's cleaned this pot since yesterday when I used it, but that's fine.
Just I know what probably is the case. It's probably a fucking Starbucks or something in near this writer's Walmart, but that I have never seen that where I'm at. The only thing you get out of a Walmart is frustrated.
Yeah. I can see Walmart's parking lot lights from my backyard. They're kind of way off. I don't live at the edge of it.
That's hilarious, because you take pictures of your house, you just got this house a few months back or whatever.
Year and a half, but yeah.
Year and a half, but you've been constantly working on it, so you've taken photos and stuff, and it looks great and really picturesque. And then the idea that there's just when you're actually there, oh, and there's Walmart.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
And when I say you can see it, I mean we have our backyard. One of the cool things with our house, one that we liked about it, which sounds like a negative, but we've got a big fence, and then our backyard, and we're in a subdivision, but instead of there being another backyard, so the backs of our houses are facing another neighbor's house, there's a commercial building. It's just a generic commercial building. And we found out it's an adult daycare, people that are either elderly or MRDD or whatever, where they live at home with other family members, but during the day they need somewhere to go, so somebody's taking care of it. Is that?
Yeah.
So what's nice about that is it's not there's customers coming and going. It's not really open on the weekends. It's not open late. So there's no noise from it. Mm-hmm. But then in front of that building is a big cornfield. And then in front of that, there's a road. And then in front of that, there's another field. And then there's the main road through our city. And then on the other side of that is Walmart. But you can technically see the lights from like our deck because the elevation, we're higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, my point is we're very close to Walmart.
And you can watch the shoplifters run out of Walmart and get lost in the fields.
Right. I think I've been to Walmart. We've been here a year and a half. And before that, we only moved across like to the other side of town. So before we were 10 minutes away from Walmart instead of like I could see it from my backyard. So in the 16 years I've been living in this city, I think I've been to Walmart 5 times, 6 times. I hate that store.
I don't go to it often. Last maybe 5 times were like really sparingly, like emergency, like fuck, we're out of dog food and they're the only place that has it that's nearby. But I really try not to shop there.
That's the frustration. I don't like them as a corporation. So if you're listening, don't bother contacting us for a sponsorship.
I'll sell out. You can contact
me. And I don't like the store. I don't like the people that shop there. It's just not a nice place to go.
It's very
But they also, especially living in rural Ohio, there's certain things that only they carry. They, I think they have Boss Coffee, which is a Japanese coffee brand. Every now and then I get in this mood where I'm like, I have to have it because it's in Yakuza. That's how stupid my brain is. If I'm playing a video game, it's like, I got to buy it.
That's fair.
There's a few things like that, but yeah, I try to avoid it at all costs unless there's something that like they're literally the only store in town that has. But anyway, ours does not have a coffee place. It has a Subway though, like a Subway sandwich.
Which was the biggest bunch of bullshit when they were like, they were McDonald's for the longest time, and it's like, no, we'll have the healthy alternatives. Like Subway isn't healthy,
not even remotely.
Not even remotely. That's just so you replaced all the other shit with like fucking bread and sugar. Like all the bad shit from McDonald's, you just added more bread.
It's got bread, sugar, and pedophilia. So,
well,
yeah, they're never living that Jared thing down. Sorry, but.
If you made a better sandwich, I'd let him get away with
it. So in society, that's how it works. Anyway, the point is, Leela's kids were worried about them taking this trip, even though it was only 15 miles, because she'd shown confusion in the past. And I imagine that the husband must too. Otherwise, they would just say, "Well, Dad, you drive." But
they should long.
Oh, here we go. There. It actually gets into that. 88-year-old Raymond, too, was showing signs of mental deterioration, but that was due to recent brain surgery done to combat a stroke and a head injury.
Fair enough.
Lela and Raymond, though, were not aware of their severe mental decline, which sadly is true. I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but that's the problem, is that they lose cognitive function, but don't understand that they are losing cognitive function. And so they left for the festival that morning without even telling their other adult son who lived just next door. That afternoon passed and the Howards didn't return home. However, at a local Walmart in Temple, a greeter there remembered seeing Lela and Raymond coming in for coffee during the afternoon. So all the fucking Walmarts in Texas have coffee.
I feel like this person hasn't actually been in a Walmart when they wrote this story, because it's not just like coffee hanging out. Like,
I wonder if they just, because like I said, this is a true story. I've read this other places, and they haven't really fabricated anything yet, except for maybe that's how they turned this into a creepypasta. Is like they went to Tim Hortons and they're like, we'll change it to Walmart.
Names and locations have changed, and by that we mean we changed this one detail about Walmart.
Yes,
that instead of a sandwich, you can get coffee.
Yeah. So anyway, a greeter said he remembered them coming in for coffee during the afternoon. After that, the couple's movements could not be accounted for. The several children between the two had become immensely worried for the elderly parents' safety, so they contacted the authorities, and a missing persons bulletin was posted that day. The Howards remained missing, because that usually doesn't immediately solve it. 3 days later, on Wednesday, July 2nd, a newspaper article was published in the Austin American-Statesman about the missing couple titled, elderly Salado couple missing on a trip to nowhere. What
trip
a title.
to coffee that it doesn't exist.
Why was it called On a Trip to Nowhere? They were clearly
the
going
coffee
to this
didn't
festival.
Exist.
Well, that's true. It read, Lela and Raymond Howard are on a 4-day road trip into thin air. Well, that seems pretty,
That's
like,
a great
callous.
song title.
Pink Floyd, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
The Central Texas couple in their 80s with diminishing health somehow have turned a 15-mile journey for a cup of coffee and a party into a 500-mile-plus misadventure with no known destination. How do they know 500-mile-plus? Because they said they don't...
Because we looked at the entire 500-mile circumference.
One of them had a pedometer. They were walking. They checked the iPhone health app.
Yeah.
That same day, a deputy in rural Arkansas pulled over Lela for driving with her headlights off, as it was nighttime. That would be a problem.
Yeah. Train your eyes. See in the dark.
I've heard drunks before talk about, like, oh, if you're a little drunk and you're driving home at night, just turn your headlights off. The cops won't see you. It's like, that seems like an awful idea.
That seems like what actually happened the other day. Somebody, like, chipped the... Like, I live on a street that's really wide, and somebody, like, chipped my mom's car's side mirror.
Cool. Like, that's
in the middle of the night.
Second contact, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't leave shit, so it was just like... Which one, I'm pissed because it's like, you have plenty of room. How the fuck did you do that? And also just leaving it like that, you're a shithead.
Yeah. Yeah, for how we started off this episode talking about how cool alcohol was and to drink it up.
I don't drive.
Yeah,
so
no.
I like, at all. So therefore, I'm allowed to do this at 3 p.m. and get totally annihilated.
And to get high and mighty, I drive, but if I have one beer, I will not. Because even though I'm not intoxicated at that point, it's like, nah.
I don't trust my brain enough to know that. You know?
Well, that's true. Because I could be Raymond Howard for all I know. Maybe I'm going through severe mental decline. A lot of people would agree with that.
Maybe this is the Matrix and, you can't trust anything.
So, but basically this, article I think they did it a little out of order because they said turned it into a 500-mile road. This is how they knew they went 500 miles is because she got pulled over in Arkansas.
Just find the Walmart that gives coffee out, like, because that's clearly where they're going.
Maybe if we get to Seattle by way of Arkansas. The deputy later noted that Lela was polite, gentle, and acted just like my grandmother. So, that's a weird way to get out of a headlight ticket. I'm old, Sonny. Do you have your sweater with you today?
You little whippersnapper. You remind me of my grandson.
I hope you remembered to clean your knees before you went to dinner.
No, sweetie. Get back in your car.
In fairness, it's super awkward talking to old people. So if I was a cop and I pulled her over and they were that old, I'd be like, oh, yeah.
How's that?
Be on your way.
How's that nice girl of yours?
I've got a call coming in on my radio. Gotta go.
And they're just sort of like, okay, she's just rambling now. I'm only making the situation worse by letting her talk to me. So, don't give them a ticket. Just run away.
So when Lela stated that they were trying to get back to Texas, the deputy noted that they were headed in the wrong direction if they were trying to return to the state. So he gave them directions, but didn't bother checking for missing persons reports, apparently. The deputy then asked Lela where she lived, but she could not remember.
Walmart?
Another good thing to be like, oh, well, where do you live, ma'am? I don't know. It's like, okay, be on your way. Like,
will not be on their ID?
Well, yeah, you would think.
So the deputy, you're meaning to tell me the guy, like, asked where they lived? Like, if nothing else, you would be like, okay, they're drunk. Like, if you're that stupid.
I like to think he has her ID in his hand.
Yeah.
And he's quizzing her. He's like, okay, if you are this Lela Howard, like you pretend to be, where do you live? She's like, I don't know. I'm old. And he's like, that checks out.
And he's like, well, I ain't no Harvard grad. No way I can solve this mystery myself. They don't pay me enough to be a detective.
You see this badge? It's Patrolman Desi, not Detective Desi. Yeah. Be on your way, woman.
I give tickets. I don't solve crimes.
Police. So the deputy let him off with a warning, but the couple were pulled over again about a half hour later for driving with their high beams on this time.
Jesus,
and she's like, you sons of bitch cops, what do you want?
I love that this story started with, could have been prevented. Yeah. Yeah, like fucking, there's like a million instances where this could have been prevented.
I'm just picturing her screaming at first you say I don't have enough light, now you say I have too much light.
There's nothing illegal about shining your big lights on.
In my day, they called these flashies.
They called them God beams.
That deputy also let them go, of course, because I've never heard of anybody being arrested for having their high beams on.
Yeah, most of it usually is just like, yeah, you turn those off.
Yeah.
You're being a dick.
Neither of the deputies knew about the newspaper article. So the newspaper article, if it did come out first,
fucking
and then
failed.
It was well, it sounds like the journalist is psychic because he's like, oh, this couple, how did they end up in Arkansas? And then they end up in Arkansas. It's like, whoa, do. Anyway, the Howards once again disappeared because they figured out how to use the headlights normally, and there was no more reason to pull them over.
The problem is they forgot how roads worked.
That's probably where this is going.
I imagine.
The next day, on Thursday, July 3rd, there was another article about the Howards. They had allegedly been spotted at a farmer's market in Arkansas, and authorities in 11 states were on the lookout for them, except for the 2 deputies that actually saw them. On Friday, July 4th, another article stated that authorities had narrowed their search down to 3 specific counties in Arkansas, because they couldn't have possibly gotten out of those counties in the last 2.5 days. There were no further developments in the search until Wednesday, July 9th, when the couple story was covered on the CBS Morning News Show. Yet another newspaper article was published about the Howards in the Austin American-Statesman, making the front page. That article's editor, Denise Gamino, stopped by the Howards' house, and the signs of the couple's mental decay were obvious. There was folded clothing still laying on the couple's bed. What fucking psychopaths.
A bunch of scrawlings on the walls about coffee.
That's hilarious to me because as I'm reading this, I have folded clean clothes sitting on my bed that I washed like 4 days ago. I just haven't put them away, but I just set them on my bed this morning.
That's kind of like me. I have a pile of unfolded clothes I just pulled out of the dryer that will probably be there for at least 5 more hours.
Right, so we both have Alzheimer's, obviously.
Yeah. You want to go get coffee?
Only if it's at Walmart.
Great value coffee.
But it was as if they had started packing for some sort of long trip. Or they had laundry that they hadn't put away.
So maybe their
whatever.
brains aren't going to shit. Maybe they knew this was going to take forever because their brains are shit.
Yeah, that's The television was unplugged and hearing aids were left behind in the bathroom, as well as various toiletries. Well, no shit, they were only supposed to be gone for like 4 or 5 hours. I don't typically take a toothbrush with me.
I usually take a couple of rolls of toilet paper everywhere I go.
That's true, especially if it's going to be a festival, because you might be shitting in a field. Who knows?
Even just a trip to the grocery store. Who wants to use that like fucking paper thin dissolving shit, huh?
Right, and that Walmart coffee runs right through you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quality.
That's the thing about toilet paper rolls. They should make them like wide enough that they can like go around your like wristbands. You know?
Yeah.
Just make them the fashion.
Yeah, we all just wear toilet paper everywhere we go.
Yeah. Cool.
Get this next one's really creepy. Even though it was currently July, the Howard's calendar was still on the page for February. I've got a calendar on my wall, I think, from like 2017 still, so...
Yeah.
Because nobody actually uses calendars anymore. I guess old people do.
I feel like, to be fair, at a certain age, you don't need to know what date it is anymore.
Well,
like, all your family members will bug you when it's actually a holiday. So you can just navigate life, just sort of like...
I thought that was like the entire point of working your life to retirement, because you get to that point where you don't... every fucking day is Friday.
Yeah, I put in my time. Now I'm retired. I didn't just retire from work. I retired from societal conventions. I do not want to fucking be a part of any of this shit. Time is an illusion.
I did my time. I am no longer a slave to the Julian calendar.
Walmart randomly sells coffee, and I go to the bathroom wherever I want. That's the deal.
That's the deal. So far, all of these like sleuthy clues, and again, this part I don't know if it's true or not, but they don't seem like sleuthy clues to me. They just sound like somebody that, I don't know.
Sleuthy Clues.
Isn't me? Yeah.
Another good band.
Perhaps most notably, the Howard's cat, Happy, was left behind, essentially abandoned. But see, that is notable in the fact that most people don't just, like, abandon a pet. But clearly, at this point, I'd be operating, if I was the children, I'd be operating on the assumption that they didn't mean to be gone for a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you'd leave. Again, I wouldn't take my cat with me to an art festival.
No. Well, I might. They come back.
So this is the hard-hitting journalism that the Austin Statesman or whatever the fuck, that's what they do. And apparently, it kind of sounds like the journalists like let themselves in or were let in, and they're like, "Let me snoop around the crime scene."
Fucking Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
It's just
great movie, by the way. It's like great.
One of the like kind of low key scariest characters.
Yeah.
Ever
like
on film.
Everybody always talks about American Psycho, and like I saw that movie and I just thought it was stupid. And then you see Nightcrawler.
Campy, you know,
yeah,
I like that movie, but it is campy and over the top. Nightcrawler is like,
it just makes you feel dirty
like
watching
that.
it.
Yeah, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But I loved it, and it's one of those movies, like spoiler alert, that doesn't just fall to the typical Hollywood, like, okay, we'll wrap it up happy at the end, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's the kind of movie, I saw it with my wife and her friends, because we all used to go to the movies every week, but it was like that once in a year where like I would pick the movie,
mm-hmm.
and I think we left and I was like, that was such a good movie, and they were all sick. Like, what the fuck did we just watch?
Yeah, Steve doesn't get to pick movies anymore.
That might have been the last one I picked.
That's one of those movies that it's like I'm with you, and like, yeah, it's really good, and I think everybody should watch it. It's also one of those movies that I have no interest in like rewatching it, really.
Exactly. Yeah, like once you see it, and it's not because it's bad. There's movies that I've watched that even that I kind of liked, but I'm like, I'm not gonna sit through it again. But it's like, hey, I don't think a second viewing would have the same impact. Because, like, at that point, you kind of know everything. But you don't need to watch it a second time. That the impression that it leaves is the whole point of that kind of story.
Yeah, it's like, it is an outstanding, I think, one-off experience.
Yeah, and I'd say the same about, like, The Lighthouse. Although that one was even
I can
more
rewatch that one, not because it has the same punch, but because... there's a lot of details and shit in that movie that you won't catch on the first one. And it is really rewarding to watch that. Like, and also visually, it's just magnificent. There are shots in that movie that are outstanding.
Well, and then Willem Dafoe is just fucking like
great performances. I
could probably watch him sitting at a table reading his mail because he's a great actor.
Just a treasure. A treasure for film.
Anyway, cat's still at home. Parents obviously in trouble. The search intensified as authorities employed dozens of deputies, carefully combed obscure back roads and brush areas, posted flyers, and questioned many civilians over a very large area. Helicopters were even later used in the search, and the search area grew to 1,000 miles from Salado, Texas.
That has to be frustrating, though, if like your brain is, going to shit, but you live in Texas, and it's the biggest state, and you can't
it's like a
find
corner
it.
It's the corner of the country, so you just have to aim a direction, and you're gonna.
And your own brain just won't let you get on the right fucking direction. That has to suck.
It either sucks or it's awesome, because imagine the great mental relief.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'd be stoked if the one thing I lost was the general location of Texas from my brain. It's just like
that's not what I meant.
My
dad's
wrong. Side of the family was like, "Hey, visit us," and I'm like, "I can't. I simply can't."
I kind of meant we all deal with the everyday stuff and the bigger the pressures of life, and if your brain was so far gone that you're just in this weird wonderland, it might be great, it might be bad. And joking aside, so I've had family members and acquaintances and people I know go through this, and it goes multiple ways. Sometimes it is like that, where they're just kind of constantly happy, but they have no idea what the fuck's going on. That would be great. Then you have the ones that are constantly confused, have no idea where they are, who anybody is. That would be fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So, that this stuff isn't overall a joke, obviously. But yeah, it'd be great to just be like, hey, we're in Candyland now.
I could just pretend a part of the map didn't exist. I could just eliminate a lot of my problems right now.
No problems, yeah.
Be like the representative from Texas. What the fuck is a Texas? And why the fuck is he trying to tell other states what to do?
On July 14th, a deputy pulled him over and said, "Shouldn't you be in Texas?" And they said, "What the fuck is that?" "And we're going to Walmart for coffee."
I'm just trying to find Walmart coffee.
By then, one of the Howard's grandsons had offered a reward of $1,000 for his grandparents' safe return. Tips came flooding in from people who wanted $1,000, but none led to the Howard's discovery. The next day, on Thursday, July 10th, one of the Howard's grandchildren remarked in a newspaper article, "The hardest part is thinking that they are suffering or need us and we can't get to them." Another bleakly stated, "I just don't think we're going to find them alive now." And again, we joke about a lot of stuff. One of the worst things, to me in my mind, is that being on either end of it, something happening to you, there's something so sad to me about dying in a way that nobody knows what happened to you or ever finds you, because that just sounds incredibly lonely, which is stupid because you're dead, so who cares?
Yeah.
But of course, being on the other end is even worse if you had a loved one that just you had no idea what fucking happened to them. But it is interesting that at least one of their kids, because you always see this oh yeah, my, so-and-so's been missing for 13 years now, but I hope we still find him alive. And it's yeah, probably not. So at least one of them was coming to grips with the reality.
You would be a great fucking I kind of wish you ended up becoming a cop, hold on, because you'd just be the worst.
Hello, police. My parents have been missing for 15 hours. It's they're dead. There's no use.
I think somebody's in my house. It's well, they probably got you then.
There's no way we can get there before they do something to you.
I mean, I'm at least 15 minutes out. No, I'm the closest.
Do you have any crimes we could possibly stop?
I mean, I promise you I'll try when I find your body, but...
I'll think of a good quote for the newspaper. Unfortunately, everybody's worst fears were finally realized on Saturday, July 12th, when the bodies of Lela and Raymond Howard were discovered in their car by hikers at the bottom of a 25-foot cliff just outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Raymond was still in the passenger seat, but Lela was about 20 feet away in a ravine, still clutching her purse and car keys.
Oh, jeez.
Apparently, after the car went over the cliff, she put her car in park, turned off her headlights that she previously didn't know how to operate.
Well, that's good.
Opened the passenger side door for her deceased husband, and crawled away to die of her injuries sustained in the crash. So a real happy ending for the Howards.
Yeah.
There were no skid marks found at the top of the cliff, indicating that the car had driven straight off the edge. A crash scene investigator estimated that the car had been going around 50 miles an hour on the stretch of road leading up to the cliff. Lela likely didn't see the cliff's edge or was in some other way distracted, or even became momentarily confused and lost the ability to stay.
Fuck, I'm tired of driving.
There's no coffee at any of these Walmarts.
I don't remember living this fucking far away. Jesus. There is something, for lack of a better word, respect. Like, I respect somebody who, like, you hear about this when somebody dies, they're still, like, up until the last moment, they just keep going, you know? Yeah, like, clearly, she was injured enough to die, and I don't know, maybe it'll get to it here in a second, but she was still mobile enough to get out of a crashed car and open the door for her husband and get her purse and do all that stuff, but she didn't ultimately make it. And it's like, well, could she not walk anymore? Was her leg broken? Did she like starve to death, or was she internally bleeding? But like in her mind, it's like, oh, fuck, we crashed. I'm going to keep going. My husband's not responsive. Let me go find help. You know, that kind of thing. Sadly, the crash site where Lela and Raymond's bodies were found was within a zone previously searched by authorities, but searchers could not see the bottom of the cliff due to excess brush in their line of sight. Which is funny because it's like, we checked there, we just couldn't see it because there's stuff in the way. It's like, well, then you didn't check there. But I get it. You can't check 1,000 like miles of just open area on foot. Dude, these cops can't check an ID for an address.
That's true.
Which would move their eyes like a millimeter.
So, Lela and Raymond were later buried next to their respective first spouses. So that's kind of a weird note. It's like, okay, well, you died together in an unknown car crash. Let's separate you and put you back with your original spouses. Austin, Texas songwriter Tony Scalzo read the second newspaper article in the Austin American-Statesman in the midst of the search for Lela and Raymond, and he became inspired. He wrote a song with his alternative rock band Fastball, based on Lela and Raymond's disappearance. It was titled The Way. What? Oh. About the song, Scalzo said, "It's a romanticized take on what happened." Scalzo pictured them taking off to have fun, like they did when they first met. Scalzo wrote the song before the Howards' bodies were discovered. The album containing The Way, All the Pain Money Can Buy, was released in 1998, 1 year after the Howards' bodies were found. Despite The Way's cheerful, optimistic sound, its lyrics are haunting. They made up their minds and they started packing. They left before the sun came up that day. An exit to eternal summer slacking, but where they are going without ever knowing the way. I know that song.
That's a shit song.
Yeah.
That song pisses me off because it could be a good song. And then, like, the chorus happens and you're like, oh, God. What did they do?
So, I'm not going to read the rest of the lyrics. They're here, but we don't need those.
You get the point.
So this is back to the author now, his voice, or her voice. His, I assume, because it's Dr. Frank N Furter.
Violet Frankenfurter. Never assume.
That's true. My thoughts again return to Lela and Raymond Howard barreling off that cliff in Arkansas. Unfortunately, I never seem to get any answers for my questions. Probably because you seem to be asking, like, the wall. Like... They're talking to their dog. Fido, what the fuck happened to the Howards? Speak up.
Speak. Go on. Bow wow. What's that, boy?
Roof.
You know what happened?
What? There was a problem with the roof in the car?
Come on, boy. Recreate the crime scene.
I suppose that I can only guess. Maybe Lela had seen the cliff edge but didn't have enough time to react. I wonder if she even had the mental facilities to function anymore. It leaves me thinking, what was going through their heads as the car plunged off the cliff edge? Fear? Confusion? I'd like to think otherwise. Perhaps in that moment, it wasn't 1997 anymore. Maybe it was a much earlier time for them. Maybe their damaged psyches spared them from the sad reality. Perhaps in that moment for Lela and Raymond, there were no more medications, no more hearing aids, and no more doctor's appointments. No aching joints, no glasses, no operations, no pacemakers, no forgetting, and no more confusion. Maybe in that moment, and for their entire trip, Lela and Raymond saw themselves as a newlywed couple, their young skin perpetually gleaming in the summer sun.
That sounds like a lot of confusion.
Look at our skin. It's young and glowing. It's like, no, it's just covered in blood. You crashed off a cliff, you crazy woman.
You're sunburnt to hell.
Lela in her best white wedding dress and Raymond in his finest black tuxedo. I like that. I've read that a lot of places. In his finest tuxedo. Who the fuck has more than one tuxedo? Like, well, here's my moderate tuxedo.
What are you, an oil baron? Where are you getting all these?
I mean, I'm saying that as a guy who clearly doesn't have a tuxedo.
I don't know shit. When I'm getting married, I'm going to beg my bride-to-be if I can wear a jersey.
Yeah, I mean, put a pocket square on it somehow, just like pin it.
You understand this is the Brian Westbrook jersey I wore when the Eagles won the Super Bowl? This is better than any tuxedo. Come on.
Yeah. Well, shit, if she doesn't understand that, she shouldn't be marrying you in the first place.
I'll compromise. I'll wear the jersey and a jacket. I'll be really hot, but I'll be pissed.
But the jacket will be like a, I don't know, in 1996 Eagles starter jacket. Like yeah. So maybe they envisioned a just married sign hanging on the back of their rear window and empty soup cans. That was weird. They put soup cans as one word. It's like, what the hell are supkins? Tied to their rear bumper.
I'm Hank
I wonder if they held hands. I can tell the beer's kicking in because I almost that last sentence was, I wonder if they had hands.
I wonder if they were intact on the way out.
Sometimes when you get old, your hands just fall off.
Yeah.
Maybe when Lela and Raymond Howard drove off that cliff in Arkansas in 1997, they weren't scared. Maybe they were smiling. The end. What I liked about that, like I said, in the body of it, like the being pulled over and stuff, I don't remember if that actually happened. Probably, because all the other stuff about them going to the festival and the kids not wanting them to go and them disappearing and them being found, weeks later. I think it was like about 2 weeks. That's all true. And what I like about it, it's not really a creepypasta, even though it's on the creepypasta wiki, but it kind of is that thing. I think we all do. I read these stories and they are sad because you picture the family and you picture nobody ever knowing exactly how this ended. And I've thought about that a lot. Like anytime I read a story about victims of like violent crime, of course, a lot of times it's women being like abducted and killed and other stuff. And I can't help but like you think about like what were their last moments like, and that like terror and confusion, and like at some point you think they must have realized that they're never going to see like their loved ones again, and like how sad that is. But then like a story like this, it does leave room to picture like maybe they went out on their own terms, like maybe they didn't know what happened, or maybe they did it on purpose.
I don't know. This seems like a really dragged out, like, I'm in control of my destiny way to go.
Well, it's weird that this is up as a creepypasta because it's basically just a retelling of an actual story, and then at the end saying like, well, maybe they didn't, like maybe it wasn't sad. It's like, well, that's not really a creepypasta. It wasn't sad.
I don't know. It's kind of, it's more, less of a creepypasta, more of a blog. Kind of just, just thinking out loud about like death and stuff, which I get and I can appreciate.
Yeah, like I said, I do it too. You like to, and part of you kind of want to believe like, well, maybe their last moments weren't this like terror-filled confusion of, but like kind of what we talked about, like, and the thing that sticks with me about stories like that is that thing of like, at some point you got out of the car, if you're a Lela or Lela, and you just kept going until your body literally couldn't anymore. And what's interesting to me too, and a lot of it could be shock. There's a million ways to explain it, but like turning the headlights off and putting the car in park and getting your purse, that's not normal stuff you do if you were panicking. But the dementia play or the Alzheimer's, I know they're two different things in my mind. They're very similar. But shock as well, like you said, because most of us don't know how to react to driving off a fucking cliff and finding out that your spouse is probably dead next to you. So what happens is your brain kicks in and says, okay, well, what would I normally do? Park the car, go look for help, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's like anything. I like that the author's like, oh, it's frustrating because I'll likely never get the end. Of course you won't. Nobody will, because you weren't there. There's no physical, short of creating a time machine and like waiting at the side of the road, and instead of saving them, be like, I'd rather just see how this played out.
Yeah.
There's no way to know the answers, but anyway, so that's Lela and Raymond Howard. Like I said, what really settled me on it was the fact that I've almost covered this topic a number of times when I've been like trying to come up with basically what it is I found a way to find somebody else's notes on a topic. Be like, yeah, I want to talk about this, but I don't want to write the notes. Hey, here's a creepypasta technically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, whatever. It works.
Yeah.
I'm drunk enough now to handle it. I'll accept I'll accept any submissions at this level.
In that
of
case,
buzz.
let's go on to chapter 2. The next mystery is when Lela and Raymond were found, their trunk was full of stacks of $100 bills and 2 automatic rifles.
God, that would be cool. That thing would take a turn for like the fucking hardcore.
DNA tests of the blood on scene revealed Raymond and Lela's blood, but also 3 unknown people and an antelope.
Like right now, it's just kind of sad, but man, if they went, that's going out on your own terms.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know we've never done anything like this before, but instead of like, going to Walmart for shit coffee that might not exist, what if we rip off a cocaine dealer and fucking load the trunk with as much fucking blow and
the
guns?
Best part is this was a long con. The mom had been acting crazy for like the last 8 months just to plant that seed, because they know like if the job goes south, you can always play the "where am I? I'm cold and confused" card, and everybody be like, "Grandma, that's typical."
Oh, Grandma.
Yeah, the reason that she missed the curve and drove off the cliff is because they not only stole the money, but she took a couple bumps before they took off.
She's trying to do snort skis off the dashboard. Right at a winding turn.
Fuck Texas, we're going all the way to Mexico. But anyway, so that's a story.
I mean,
that's a wrap.
I appreciate, there is something at least to be said, hey, going out with someone you love, that's, it's better than a lot of us get.
What if it was her decision, but not his? He was in the
like, hey, whoa, what you doing?
It's like, we had a wonderful life. It's like, hey, I'm meeting with my mistress tomorrow. We need to get back.
There's something about this cocaine that just makes me think this is the end, Raymond.
Doesn't it remind you of the summer of 37?
Yes.
That was your first husband, you freak. I want to live.
God, I told you the Salazars would come for this shit, and now you're panicking.
Well, the cops were clearly in on it, but,
Cops are in on everything.
Right.
Well, yeah, rest in peace, Lela and Raymond Fry, fucking Philip J. Raymundo.
See, now I'm suspecting you, because I never said his full name, but you know it.
I know Futurama, and I know that it was based off this true story.
Just for, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the show. We're going to find out that being drunk for this is really bad.
Or good. I don't know.
I enjoy
the energy
editing
level
more.
was good. Yeah.
So
I will leave on this just to ruin it for possible future. The whole time I was looking for a story in the like popular pages section. I know you use this website a lot too. One of the current stories is called "Been Drowned," and it's like, man.
Oh yeah, the Majora's Mask story.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a pretty popular one.
Yeah,
I'll bring it. We'll talk about it because the video game creepypastas are some of the like fucking. Well, some of them are outright the worst shit, and like the like intentionally like hilarious.
Yeah.
You know the writers are in on it, but they're very funny. That one is still held up as like really good, and I don't know if that's true. I've never actually read it.
I just like the name. I was like, Been Drowned.
Yeah,
like, I'll read it and then you'll drown
that's
next week.
That's why I haven't
like,
read it. I didn't want to open that fucking door. I worked really hard to learn how to swim when I was a kid, just so that wouldn't happen. And now you got this fucking story telling me it's going to happen? That sucks.
Yeah. And you'll forget all about it, and then 20 years from now, you'll dress up as Link from Majora's Mask, and they'll find you face down.
Go to the wrong Halloween pool party. Why are you having a pool party during Halloween? Who the fuck knows?
Especially in Washington.
Yeah.
Seems, but anyway. So possible foreshadowing of future coverage. Yeah. But for now, that's a week.
Spoiler, I'm not going to write anything for the next episode. Anyway, yeah, that's the show this week. We'll have a different thing next week. It might be that. Might be something actually that takes work. Who knows? We'll see how I feel.
I know which one I'd place my money on.
Yeah.
I know how both of our
that's
day-to-day
called
lives
an insider
go.
bet, and that's illegal.
Just call me Martha, I guess. But,
we'll talk to you all again.
Safe travels and Godspeed, young ones.
Don't still coke as a retirement plan.
No. Damn.
Or do it. It's cool.
Hooray.